Humanitarian aid. It's the difference between life and death for millions. Food, water, medicine, basic necessities that become lifelines in crises. Yet this lifeline is often tangled in a web of politics. Nowhere is this more evident than in the actions of the United States. While often presenting itself as a champion of human rights, the U.S. has a long and troubling history of using aid as a bargaining chip, a weapon even, with devastating consequences. This essay will explore the human cost of this policy, focusing on the tragedies in Yemen, Gaza, and Sudan. The stories are heartbreaking, the statistics staggering. They paint a picture of deliberate neglect, of lives treated as collateral damage in a geopolitical chess game. This is not just about aid, it's about power, control, and the callous disregard for human life. It's about time we shone a light on these injustices and demanded better. Yemen, a nation ravaged by civil war, teetering on the brink of collapse. But this is not just a war, it's a humanitarian catastrophe, fueled in no small part by the actions of the United States. Since 2015, Yemen has been locked in a brutal conflict, with the US-backed, Saudi-led coalition waging a relentless bombing campaign. This coalition, armed and supported by the US, has imposed a crippling blockade on Yemen, restricting the flow of essential goods, including food, fuel, and medicine. The result? The world's worst humanitarian crisis. Over 377,000 people, many of them children, have died. Not from bombs and bullets, but from starvation and preventable diseases. 85,000 children, their tiny bodies ravaged by hunger, have perished. This is a man-made famine, a slow and agonizing death inflicted on an entire population. And the U.S., through its unwavering support for the Saudi-led coalition, bears a heavy responsibility. Gaza, a tiny strip of land densely populated and impoverished under a crippling blockade for over 17 years. This blockade, enforced by Israel but enabled by the United States, has turned Gaza into an open-air prison, its people denied basic human rights including access to healthcare, education, and economic opportunity. The U.S. has consistently shielded Israel from international pressure, using its veto power at the UN Security Council to block resolutions condemning the blockade and calling for a ceasefire. This unwavering support has emboldened Israel, allowing it to act with impunity. The human cost is immeasurable. Hospitals struggle to function, lacking essential medicines and equipment. Children go to bed hungry, their futures uncertain. The U.S. may not be dropping the bombs, but its policies are directly contributing to the suffering. Sudan. A nation grappling with the aftermath of a coup, its people facing a humanitarian disaster of epic proportions. Millions have been displaced, their lives upended by violence and instability. And yet, in this hour of need, the U.S. has chosen to turn its back. Following the 2023 coup, the U.S. froze aid to Sudan, even as warlords looted food convoys and millions teetered on the brink of famine. This callous decision has had devastating consequences. Hospitals are overflowing, lacking basic supplies. Children are dying from preventable diseases. The U.S. once again is using aid as a political weapon, holding the lives of millions hostage to its geopolitical interests. This is not just short-sighted, it is morally reprehensible. Section 5. Echoes of Iraq, when the price was worth it. The tragedies unfolding in Yemen, Gaza, and Sudan are not isolated incidents. They are part of a disturbing pattern, a history of U.S. intervention that has repeatedly prioritized geopolitical interests over human life. Remember the crippling sanctions imposed on Iraq in the 1990s, sanctions that led to the deaths of an estimated 500,000 Iraqi children. When asked about these deaths, then U.S. Ambassador to the UN Madeleine Albright infamously declared, "The price was worth it." This chilling statement, this callous disregard for human life should haunt us all. It should serve as a stark reminder of the human cost of U.S. foreign policy. It should compel us to demand better, to hold our leaders accountable for their actions. Section 6. Aid as a weapon control, not compassion. The common thread running through these crises is the use of aid as a weapon. It's not about alleviating suffering, it's about exerting control. It's about punishing enemies and rewarding allies regardless of the human cost. This cynical calculus, this disregard for human life, is morally bankrupt. It undermines the very principles of humanity and compassion that should guide our actions. We cannot stand idly by as lives are treated as pawns in a geopolitical game. We cannot allow aid to be used as a weapon. We must demand better from our leaders. We must insist that human life, human dignity be placed above all else. Section 7. The Human Cost. Voices from the Abyss. Behind the statistics, beyond the headlines, are real people, real lives shattered by these policies. A Yemeni mother, her face etched with grief, cradling the emaciated body of her child, dead from starvation. A Gazan doctor, his eyes filled with despair, forced to choose which patient to save because he lacks basic medical supplies. A Sudanese refugee, his voice trembling with anger and frustration, as he describes the horrors he has witnessed. These are the human faces of U.S. foreign policy. These are the voices that we must amplify. We must listen to their stories, share their pain, and honor their resilience by fighting for a better world. Section 8. A Call to Action, Breaking the Stranglehold. We cannot remain silent in the face of such injustice. We must act. We must raise our voices and demand an end to the use of aid as a weapon. Support organizations like Yemen Relief and PCRF that are working tirelessly to provide aid and support to those in need. Contact your elected officials and urge them to stop supporting policies that restrict humanitarian aid. Join movements like #Yemen Can't Wait and amplify the voices of those demanding justice. Educate yourself and others about the devastating impact of these policies. Every voice matters. Every action counts. Together, we can break the stranglehold of indifference and build a world where aid is a lifeline, not a weapon. Section 9 Conclusion, Choosing Compassion. The choice is clear. We can continue down the path of indifference and complicity, accepting the suffering of millions as an unfortunate but inevitable consequence of realpolitik. Or we can choose compassion. We can choose to stand on the side of humanity, to demand justice and accountability. Let us choose compassion. Let us choose action. Let us work together to build a world where the lifeline of aid reaches all those in need, unimpeded by politics and driven by our shared humanity. The time for change is now.